Face reveal at 0.1K? Just kidding, I don't have 100 subscribers. I only have 15, but this video is going to change all that. 2023 is over, and it was a great year for movies. We had films from Christopher Nolan and Martin Scorsese and David Fincher. We had lots of great animated movies. We had movies that I loved that weren't even on my radar to start the year. And to top it all off, the cherry on top, it was a terrible year for superhero movies. That's good for all of us. I don't do top 10 lists anymore. I pair up movies to talk about together. And what better way to start this video than with the two movies that were paired together before they even came out. How could I not talk about the phenomenon that was Barbenheimer? I didn't actually get to see both of these movies on one day, but I'm happy for all the people who did, and I think it was really cool to see a campaign like this take place over social media. What made it even better was how worthwhile these movies were. I loved Barbie. I thought it was the funniest movie of the year. Most of that was thanks to Ryan Gosling, but Kate McKinnon and lots of other people had great scenes as well. Oppenheimer was much more of a mixed bag for me. I hated the first hour, loved the second hour, and just kind of liked the third. I really don't think this is the masterpiece people claim it is, but maybe I have to see it again. Heads up, boys, new personality just dropped. David Fincher is my favorite director. He's made these movies, and he delivered yet again. The Killer is about an assassin who goes on a revenge campaign after something goes wrong on one of his jobs. The craft of the movie is impeccable, and it features the best fight scene of the year, easily outdoing John Wick and Mission Impossible, which I thought was pretty amusing. How to Blow Up a Pipeline is very accurately titled. It's a fictional story about a group of eco-terrorists who, well, blow up an oil pipeline. The story unfolds like Ocean's 11. You get to see the team assembling and going over their plans, and it's got all the classic heist movie stuff. On top of that, the filmmakers do a great job showing each character's diverse opinions and feelings about the climate crisis without making it feel like they were just sitting on the fence without an opinion themselves. My favorite movies of the year had plenty of great scenes, but even they couldn't top some of the things that happened in these other two. In Maestro, Bradley Cooper plays famed conductor Leonard Bernstein, and the movie climaxes with a spectacular scene in Ely Cathedral where Bernstein conducts a Mahler symphony. This is the second year in a row I loved a movie about a conductor, and I'm still not quite sure what they contribute, but after seeing this movie, and especially this scene, I can definitely see how they become the star of a musical performance despite not playing a single note. In Godzilla Minus One, literally the genre antithesis of Maestro, we get this fantastic scene where Godzilla chases a boat through the ocean. It was exciting and very reminiscent of Jaws right up until the last moment. This was the best scene in an all-around great movie. Give it a watch if you don't mind subtitles. There were tons of great performances this year, but the two that stood out the most to me were Margaret Qualley in Sanctuary and Charles Melton in May-December. In Sanctuary, Margaret Qualley plays a strong-willed dominatrix whose power over her client comes not from her sexuality, but from knowing what makes him who he is. It's a fascinating movie with only two characters, so Qualley's performance is critical to making the movie work. I think she knocked it out of the park, and it's because of her that Sanctuary is one of my favorite movies of the year. In Charles Melton's movie, May-December, the themes also revolve around sex and psychology. I'll let you look up the plot yourself, but suffice it to say, it's fraught. Charles Melton gives a very effective, moving, and subtle performance as this strange man-child who hasn't come to terms with his childhood trauma that he's experienced, and still may be experiencing. Just like Margaret Qualley, he totally elevates the movie and makes it one of the year's best. Look, I'm cursed to be a contrarian, so every year there's a couple movies that are critically beloved that I just simply don't connect with, and this year it was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Killers of the Flower Moon. I think I was a little too hard on Spider-Verse in retrospect because I liked quite a bit, like The Spot and the Nueva York stuff and the entire canon event concept, but the ending was cheap and the overall story wasn't as tidy and inspired as the first movie. And I don't care if I'm on an island saying this, I didn't like the animation style. It's too busy, I can't focus. As for Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, I felt like being at a funeral for someone you didn't know. Like, you know, it's a sad event, but you're not exactly moved because you're not invested in that person's story. You didn't know them. I'm sure I'll watch it again someday, and it's certainly not a bad movie. It just didn't affect me very much. If you thought Killers of the Flower Moon sounded like a disappointment, that was nothing compared to the creator. Me and my buddy Caleb talked about this for like 3 months before it came out, and then when it did, we didn't even get to see it together. But also, it sucked. The trailer promised really cool sci-fi visuals, and that was accurate, but besides that, there was nothing original. Also, talent clearly skips a generation because Denzel Washington's son, John David Washington, cannot act. Speaking of acting, this year I finally realized what is so frustrating about Wes Anderson, specifically late period Wes Anderson. He doesn't let his actors act. Wes Anderson made 5 movies this year: Asteroid City, a feature film, and 4 short films. Between these 5 movies, there's dozens and dozens of characters, dozens of actors, but there's only one performance. Everyone is giving the same deadpan, unemotional, detached, neutered performance, and it's all Wes Anderson's fault. Just let the actors act. The movies will be so much better. Every year there's a couple of movies I wasn't planning to see that end up really impressing me. This year, the 2 that come to mind are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem and Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. TMNT was funny, uncomplicated, and really well animated. I actually prefer this animation to the Spider-Verse movies. It's got the same loose, hand-drawn feel to it, but the frames aren't moving at light speed, so you can actually appreciate it. I don't know anything about D&D, but my buddy Sheev wanted to see it, and I'm glad we did. It was funny, didn't take itself too seriously, and had some really clever magic sequences. And Chris Pine is a true movie star. He elevates every scene he's in and gave the movie a professionalism it would have lacked without him. So what would I recommend from this year? Well, pretty much everything I talked about positively you could take as a recommendation, but not all of them go down easy. Air and Theater Camp, on the other hand, are 2 movies I'm sure that anyone would enjoy. Air is the story about how Nike signed Michael Jordan and basically started Jordan Brand. It's really well written with tons of jokes and stars Matt Damon and Jason Bateman, so you're in good hands. The story may not be very important, but the whole how this company started genre is really easy to execute, and Air is no exception. Theater Camp is exactly what its title says it's about. What makes it more palatable to most people is that it's actually not a musical, it's just a simple comedy about the camp counselors. You don't have to be a theater nerd to get all the jokes either, since most of the comedy revolves around the characters' idiosyncrasies and them acting over the top. It doesn't simply reference musicals or make inside jokes for theater kids. Check these ones out, I'm sure you'll like them. And that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Help me get to that 0.1K. I'll be making a few more videos this year, so stay tuned.